Howdy folks, and welcome back. So today I'm going to do a real quick recap because some people were asking, how do I like my new Surge? Love it. It's great. It's fantastic. I didn't want to jump the gun and say too much about it before I had kind of really put the testing to it. I really like it. Now, for the context of using it on the show alone, I feel like the serrated blade does not have a whole lot of use. And I have it tucked in with my saw blade right now. The saw blade is loose. It fits into the T-shank adapter thing, which always gets stuck because I changed the file out, and it does it only on camera. Give me a moment here. Here we go. So yeah, there's the T-shank adapter. I put the steel file in. I did a video on that, and the saw blade then replaces. You can switch back and forth, but for on the show alone, which I applied for, but very doubtful that I would be on it, but hey, it would be cool if I was. And I'm just kind of building things along the context of, well, if I was, what would that look like? So I'm going to replace the serrated blade with a fixed saw. So this way it does away with this. But in the meantime, this is sufficient. It's a little bit on the short side for a saw blade. I mean, there's quite a difference there, more than a ½ inch. So having a longer saw blade would behoove me. Yeah, and the serrated blade, I just don't use it. Love the scissors. I'm not a scissors guy. These scissors are fantastic. They're great. I love them. And the other modification was I just did a like a spoon gouge for the 1/4 inch flat drive that they have on there. I haven't changed any of the main tools out. I might do one of those, but we'll get to that. Yeah, anyway, there's the recap of the Surge. Love it. But a couple of observant viewers noticed that I had some bows, or the blanks of bows, in the background on one of the videos, and they wanted to hear more about it. So I went and bought this. This is an OMP recurve bow. It's wooden. It's laminated with, I guess, fiberglass, whatever. And I have shot and I have shot quite a lot with it, probably in the neighborhood of 2,000 arrows downrange. I love it. It's a good bow. So it's made by the same manufacturer as the Samick Sage, which looks almost identical. This is a 62-inch, 45-pound bow, and it's pretty darn good. On the show, they allow you 9 arrows, but they have to be wooden shank. I believed at the time that they had to be wooden, but it turns out I think they can be carbon as long as they look wooden. So their Easton makes a carbon arrow. This is not one of them. This is a wooden arrow that I bought off of Amazon, and it got 12 of them, and the weights were all over the place. 130 grain spread between the lightest and the heaviest. But what I did was I cut their factory tips off. I replaced it with these glue-on tips, peened that into place. So it's got little dents in it where you just take a center punch or whatever and punch that down, and then that allows me to run screw-on tips, which right now I have it set up with field points. They're 100 grain, and it's also really important that you have the long fletching for a recurve bow, because otherwise the plastic fletching that you'll commonly see for like crossbows or compound bows, it winds up striking when you're shooting it. It winds up glancing off of, let's see, how can I do this? Off of this surface here, and tends to pull the arrow to the right as you're shooting it, if it's a right-hand bow. So, yeah, I ordered a bunch of heads to kind of start the testing process of, well, what arrow tips would I want? I mean, so let's say I had 9 arrows, maybe I dedicate 3 or 4 to broadheads, and then the rest to small game, because it looks like small game is much more important on that show than large game, as far as like the probability of killing small game is much higher than killing a moose, and for whatever, muskox, whatever. And how many arrows do you need to kill a deer? 2, 3, 4. So let's say 4 big game, 5 small game. So I found these also on Amazon. They're called small game broadheads. These things hit like a hammer. I mean, they shooting out at the cardboard, it just absolutely tears holes in it. So pretty decent. I was happy with those. Those are also 100 grain, which I've been trying to stick with across the board, but I don't think that's going to work. And I'll show you why in a little bit. So I got these broadheads. These are, you know, they show this picture of it and it looks pretty big and nasty, and then you get it and it's this dinky little 9/16 inch wide dull broadhead, and it's kind of fat too. So it's also 100 grain, but these things, I would, maybe in an absolute dire emergency, I'd take a shot at a deer or something big with this, but I'd sharpen it first. But they're not going to work. So I was looking at what could I do for broadheads, and I found one source. I think it was through Three Rivers Archery or something like that online, but they're like $39 for 3 broadheads, which might not sound like that much, but there's not that much to them. I mean, what do you have here? These cost like $5 for a pack of 12. So you've got the screw shank, a little shank here, and then you've got the broadhead itself, which is just a flat piece of metal that's sharpened. It kind of looks like it's like wrapped and riveted. I'm thinking, man, that's awfully pricey, and they're not in the weight that I want. So I'm going to attempt to make my own broadhead. So I got some things at the hardware store. I found, I don't remember what the size was, 8/32, I think it was, a nice bolt that's the same thread as that, and it threads in nicely. And I got it intentionally too long because my idea is to cut it off and then form the broadhead around that. And I was thinking, well, I mean, these are not grade 8 bolts. These are just what they had available. They might not be that great. Also, looking at the reviews on the broadheads on the Three Rivers, everyone was saying like they snap off really easily, like first shot. And I'm like, I mean, hey, I could make it snap off for a whole lot cheaper. So that's where I'm at. So I found in my collection these old kitchen knives. This one's a bit thicker, probably better metal. It's made in the United States. These are just good old China ones, but they're pretty thin. And I'm thinking, well, I mean, it's not the best knife in the world, but I'll bet I could trace out my broadheads out of this, cut them out, and then find a way to fixture it on there. Now, either A, I could cut that. I've got these fine tooth hacksaw blades. Either A, I could cut it lengthwise, insert the broadhead into it, and then epoxy it in there, or weld it. I do have a welder, but that's awfully small metal. And I'm thinking maybe epoxy would be good enough. I mean, all it has to do is hold that on there securely so that when you make a shot, even if you hit bone, it doesn't just, come apart. Epoxy is pretty tough stuff. So that's my attempt. We're gonna try it out. I'm not gonna go through the footage of every single step. I'm just gonna try it and see how it works out, and then show you the results. So let me get on it. All right, so I've marked out the general shape, and I'll replicate that a couple more times, but let's get one and see how much it weighs. I've also weighed each bolt, and so they're about 100 grains each. It's these guys, and I've marked them so that I know which one's which. It doesn't really matter though, because they're going to be, the head's going to be chopped off. They're going to be shortened quite a bit, but still, I kind of wanted a baseline figure for how much they weighed. I'm going to cut that out using the good old angle grinder and see how much that piece weighs, and then start trimming the bolt down to try to balance it out. It'd be really nice if I could get it close to 100 grains, but we'll see. All right, got one cut out, and 126.1. It's moving around, but it was 125.6. Anyway, around 126. All right, so that is a good place to start, but that seems pretty heavy, so I need to knock some weight off of that to try to get it down to, I don't know, probably 75 grains would be where the blade might want to be. Shorten it a little. Alright, we're out of the epoxy, and just waiting for it to dry. I did one side, let that harden, and then did the other side, and it's pretty true. And that epoxy you can sand down. I'll do that after this side sets up, so 5 or 10 more minutes, and ready to go. Just got little cardboard wedges to kind of set it on. That'll work. All right. Where we at? 121.3. That's not with the edge ground or the rest of the epoxy taken off, so that's pretty close. Cool. All right, so I tried the epoxy, and it's gummy. It just doesn't ever set up. I let it set up. I don't know. It says 5-minute epoxy. So anyway, yeah, setting time 8 minutes. Well, what they call set, but I gave it like 35 minutes and it still wasn't hard, so I'm gonna weld it. I'm gonna tip set there on the stump, and I'm just gonna weld the bolt in. I kind of notched it at the very end so that it sits down in there, and then this way, with it in the stump, I don't have to try to hold on to it and the bolt at the same time. And then we'll cut the bolt off and go from there. But I got 4 of them out of that one blade. And one of them I sharpened, the rest I haven't. I'll sharpen them after I get this stage done. Alright, got the generators going, but there they are welded up, and I know that looks absolutely terrible. But that's because they're not grounded yet, and ground down and smoothed up. And I will. When you're welding something this thin and small, it's just a little peck at a time. Clean it up, see if there's any holes in it, and weld those up afterwards. So let's clean them up and see what they look like. Alright, they are pretty close to done. It's solid, that's for sure. I know I didn't clean that up perfectly, but we'll see where we're at. We can always take a little more off. Yeah, 106. We're shooting for 100. That's pretty decent. Alright, let's check the others. 114. So that one needs some more grinding. 104. That's even better. And 116. So that one needs a little bit more. Cool. Alright. 126. Yeah, I know it's changing a little bit. 1026. 1034. 1023. 1037. That is close enough. Within 2 grains, grain and a half, one sharpening will even that out. They don't look the greatest, but man, they're strong. They're sharp too. I don't have them all the way sharpened, but medium grit, so they're pretty coarse, but they're sharp. Alright, I'm going to sharpen them the rest of the way next. Alright, so there we have it. There's one mounted and ready to rock. Still going to sharpen it some more, but that's good enough for now. I just wanted to show you what it will look like on the arrow. And 4 of them that all weigh the same amount or really close to it. That is cool. I saved $40. Catch you next time, guys. Have a good one.